Hello, Mr. Houseman. How may I help you?
Hi there. Can you direct me to the hotel gym, please?
Yes, sir. It's down the hall to the right. The room with the outdated treadmill, broken television. Oh, and it smells like we've given up.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood Glenn here, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the No Vacancy podcast. Man, am I having such a great time doing this show for you guys every single week, but I gotta tell you, it is exhausting keeping up with this schedule over there because, I have high expectations for this show. You guys are getting high expectations for the show, and it's just making it so tough every week to record something new and engaging and interesting for you, but gosh darn it, I am going to give it a try and try to make you happy. So once again, welcome to the No Vacancy podcast. Make sure you follow me at Traveling Glenn, and I'll be able to notify you when new shows are posted and keep you up on all the exciting news that's happening in the hospitality industry. And of course, if that is not good enough for you, well, make sure you check out hotelmanagement.net, where I serve as editor-at-large, and Here to Stay TV, which should be launching really soon, and you'll be able to catch me doing all sorts of amazing video interviews with really influential people in the hospitality industry. And oh yeah, like me on iTunes, please go to the No Vacancy page on iTunes and give me a 5-star rating. Come on, you can do it. I know you can do it. You're on the treadmill. You're in your car. I know you're doing those things right now listening to me. You hear me in your head. Just go ahead and do that 5 stars on iTunes. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Kevin Barry Fine Art for being my fine sponsor. Go check out kevinbarryfineart.com, and you'll see how amazing these guys are, from terrific art installations to just regular types of prints and everything in between. You're going to love them. You'll hear more from them during our commercial break. And also, I want to give a good shout out to my fine friends at Porcelanosa. They have a really cool collection of flooring product coming out called Seawood. It actually looks like different types and grains of wood. And they're going to be hosting an exclusive event in their flagship showroom in Manhattan on June 27th. If you want some information on that, drop me a line. Find me again on at Traveling Glenn on Twitter or on Instagram. Say hello to me there, or drop me an email, glenn@rouse.media. That's ROUSE.media. So thanks for doing all of that. Woo! Now let's get into the show. It's an exciting week coming up in hospitality as the entire hospitality community descends upon Toronto. Why? For HITEC, the Hospitality's International Technology Exposition and Conference. It's where everybody comes from all over the world to learn all about exciting new technologies that are coming, plus the established technologies that you should be leveraging to improve your business and make it better. Now, unfortunately, I had a scheduling conflict. I'm not going to be at HITEC this year. I know. I'm crying too. I'm very sad that I'm not going to be there. Why? Because of this. Because they have so many great parties, right? I mean, hey, the show floor is terrific. I love the show floor. I love walking around. But gosh darn it, those parties are great, especially the ones thrown by Samsung. I remember I had a great time going to a Samsung party where the Spin Doctors played. Now, this is going back 4 or 5 years when HITEC was in Baltimore, and it was so great seeing my one of my favorite early 90s bands still out there doing it. So I want to thank Jonas Tannenbaum for always throwing a good party for the Samsung people, and that's why I love their products. And well, no, I love their products because they're great, but I love their parties because they're great parties. Also, be sure to check out a great podcast I did with the folks over at Samsung in this feed just from last week. Earlier this week, as a matter of fact, so you'll love it. All right, stick around, because coming up, I'm going to speak with Lee Pillsbury. He is one of the most successful people ever in the hospitality industry, and I get to talk to him about why he's focusing on technology as part of his newest initiative. He's doing something called Thayer Ventures. Of course, he's the founder and co-chairman of Thayer Lodging Group. He's the founder of the Pillsbury Institute for Hospitality Entrepreneurship at Cornell. He's chairman of the board at Interstate. I mean, this guy is one of the top people ever to find success in the hospitality industry. And I sit him down and I talk with him for a little bit about why hospitality technology is where he's looking to his future. Okay, so I want to tell you a little story. This past week, I had a chance to go to Atlantic City and try out a Space Invaders slot machine. Hey, you know, we all loved Space Invaders growing up. For me, I'm in that perfect group where Space Invaders was one of the first real video games that I ever played. And one of the cool things about it was sneaking out of the house because, you know, Mom wouldn't let me go down to the local pizza place. It was too far away, but I would go anyway. You know, so, sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this. It's about time you find out what I was up to when I was 12. So I would go down to La Scala Pizza and play that Space Invaders machine. And, of course, they had asteroids over there, too. And what I really liked about it was picking up that skill and being able to shoot all those aliens, you know, and the pulsating of them coming down. Boom, 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 boom. It was always very exciting. And now they have a slot machine based on Space Invaders, but it's not like any other slot machine that you've seen before. Instead of just randomly awarding you prizes, and I'll get into the machinations of that in just a second, it has features in there that are skill-based, meaning the better you are, the more chances you have to win big money. And the slot machine companies and the casino companies are starting to see this as a future to attract millennial gamblers. And I'll get into that right now, but first I want to talk a little bit about how the typical slot machine works for those of you who don't realize it. The videos that you see, the video screens that you see, the reels that you see, everything that you see is actually just a visualization of a predetermined outcome that you have no effect over. So, you know, you're playing that bonus round and you're like, which one of these 5 things should I pick for the maximum one? Doesn't matter. The computer already knows, and no matter where you push, it's going to give you a predetermined payout. It's based on something called a random number generator. Theoretically, it's constantly randomizing numbers, and the second you push that button, a number is selected, and that particular number equates to winning or losing, and if you win, how many coins that you're going to get back, or like they like to say, credits. So, essentially, you have no control over it. And that's one of the things that, while it's an intoxicating thing, and slot machines these days, instead of giving you one big payout after a long period of time, it gives you lots of smaller payouts spread out regularly to keep you engaged in that machine, right? Every time you hit a prize, your brain goes, ooh, gets really excited, and then you want to continue to push that button and play over and over and over again. So you may put in $150, 150 credits and win back 35, but you still got the win, and you're going to keep going and playing and playing and playing. But there's nothing that you can do over it. Now, what we're seeing is the typical slot machine customer, and I don't mean every slot machine customer. I said the most likely person to be playing a slot machine is an older woman, typically 50s or 60s, right? So as they are getting older and aging, younger folks are not coming in behind them to fill the gap. It's one of the reasons why that we see in places like Las Vegas, off the casino floor gambling is less and less and less of the overall revenue for a casino. Of course, food and beverage has gotten great. Shows have gotten great. Nightclubs have gotten great. All of these things have really gotten, have really come around, and people are spending more money in those venues. But at the same time, folks are not investing their dollars on the casino floor as much as possible. And this is a particular problem with millennials who really like the idea more of skill-based games is the common way that we like to put it, right? You see esports starting to take off. I've written about esports for hotel management before. I talk about esports a lot. I see this as a next big thing. So people are really into going to see other people play video games because of that skill component of it. They like other things, maybe even like online poker, because poker has some sort of a skill aspect to it where you can control the outcome, where that typical slot machine, for example, like I said, you cannot control the outcome there. So what we're seeing is, millennials, they're just really less engaged with traditional casino games. If you've been to Cosmopolitan, for example, in Las Vegas, you've seen it yourself. Everybody's lining up to go to the nightclub, and all the slot machines seem to be really empty because they're not really getting the same thing out of that randomness of the slot machines, and they want games that'll give them a chance, right? And this is where things are starting to change. That's why we're seeing skill-based games come into the market in the hopes of capturing that customer. Now, I had the opportunity to go check out the Space Invaders slot machine. I was down at the Icona Golden Inn down in Avalon, New Jersey for a meeting. I highly suggest you guys check them out. Icona does great products, including the Icona Diamond Inn, which has been number 7 on TripAdvisor's best hotels in the country 2 years in a row. Really special. I'll probably be talking about these guys a little more in later shows, but it took me down to Southern New Jersey. So while I was in Southern New Jersey, I had to go check out the sadness that I refer to as Atlantic City. And I went up to Atlantic City to go check it out, and oh boy, I know gambling revenues are finally starting to inch back up over there. I think 4.3% last month, year over year for May. They went up. Please don't quote me specifically on that statistics, but it is going up, mostly because so many casinos closed over there. Same store revenues are going up because there's less competition out there. But I went to the Wild Wild West Casino. Parked my car, walked over there. Wild West is owned by Caesars Resorts, by the way, and they're getting involved in this technology. Walk into the casino, and oh boy, I remember this casino from, 20 years ago when it first opened, how cool it was. It was really themed like the Wild West. They had a great buffet. They had really great design, really adorable. Unfortunately, like 80% of that place is just now empty. Construction walls around, just sad, quiet, depressing. The poker room is really, really quiet, just filled with a handful of old men when I was there on a Tuesday morning, and that was kind of sad. But I was on a mission. To see if I could beat the Space Invaders. So I went over to the Space Invaders slot machine, plunked in $20. Yes, that's right. I'm cheap. I don't like to spend a lot of money on gambling. I just feel weird about it. I get all you folks out there who get that thrill out of it, but me, I just kind of get sweats and just feel really uncomfortable with myself. But I said I'm going to spend up to $40 here because I need to bring you guys this story, right? Hey, listen. I'm investing money into this podcast. I'm doing it every single week. What's another $40? So I plunked myself down at that Space Invaders machine, and it was really cute looking at all of the reels. So I put in my $20 to start, knowing I have another $20 in my pocket, and that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I go ahead and I put it in. It's one of those 5-reel slot machines, all video displays. The lower screen is the slot reels. The top screen is the bonus round, and there's a small screen that you can touch to spin. And when you're activating the bonus round, hit the left and right button and a fire button, which I'll get into in a second. So it's a great mix of old school 1970s graphics and some modern graphics. And I played for a little while, and I'm trying to figure out how this machine works before going into the bonus round. I actually read the pays tables and the explanation extensively. But I would say the funny thing is that nowhere was it advertised that this was a skill-based machine. A new paradigm coming into the casino market, and just no fanfare, no mention, nothing of it. Just Space Invaders in the old school 70s graphics is the way the bonus round was done. So cool looking, so much fun. I couldn't wait to get into it. Of course, the game was released in 1978, so next year is going to be its 40th anniversary. I cannot believe it's been around for so long. Unbelievable. So I'm playing. Lucky me, I'm hitting wilds. I'm hitting this. I'm hitting that. I'm getting some great payoffs. The next thing I know, I'm still at like $25, $26, $27. I'm like, woohoo! Let me see about playing this bonus round. Now, there's 2 ways that you can play the bonus round. Number 1 is accumulating a number of quote-unquote shots. If you get 50 or more, you can activate the bonus round. Or you could put in money to activate the bonus round immediately. Now, in this particular case, in this particular machine, it was a $20 investment to go ahead and play the Space Invaders bonus round. Again, I'm here. I have no choice but to give you guys a true story. So I plop in the $20, even though I'm like, really? $20? I'm still used to paying a quarter for video games, let alone $20. So I went at it. All right, so I got something like 100 shots, and if you pay to do the slot machine, if you pay to do the bonus round over doing it with the shots credit, you'll actually get a higher payback, the machine says. So every single time you shoot an alien, it equates to a random amount that you're going to get back. 3 coins, 10 coins, 15 coins, 30 coins, whatever it might be. So I went and I played, I had the left button, the right button, the fire button. I'm cruising, shooting down all these aliens, feeling good, thinking I'm back at La Scala Pizza Place back in the 1970s, early 80s, all on my own, having a great time. And I wound up winning. I got shot. I had 45 shots left of 100, so I didn't do so good on that. But I wound up doubling my initial investment. So I put in $20 into that bonus round, and I won $41 back. Pretty cool, and I still had 45 shots left. Imagine if I had been good enough to get all of that, how much money I actually could have made. I probably could have made another $20 alone on that. So pretty cool, pretty impressive, pretty interesting. I'm left wondering if I'm going to be interested in playing again. I'll probably try it again to see if this was just a beginner's luck or something a little bit more, serious going on there. But the one question I have, and the one thing I'm really wondering about, is if I actually just doubled my money that easily, is this something that's going to work for casinos? It doesn't make any sense to me, because the whole point of a casino is for them to have the house edge. So unless they're actually, winning, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, because is it beatable? Is it not beatable? Could introducing elements of skill actually attract millennials? I'm sure it will, but I don't know if it's really going to work over the long term. But I got to tell you, it was fun. It was interesting. It's worth at least trying it out. They're in Atlantic City now. They're in Las Vegas, Nevada. I know MGM Resorts is putting interest behind having skill-based slots machine, either of the Space Invaders or another variety out there. And I'm pretty sure Connecticut has it as well. And other jurisdictions should be rolling this out very shortly. So fun, interesting, different technology, and I can't wait to see what happens with this. Is it really going to work? Is it really going to be something successful? But speaking of things I can't wait for you guys to hear this amazing interview I have coming up with Lee Pillsbury. Honestly, one of the most interesting, generous, kind, and successful people in the hospitality business ever. I want you guys to stick around. You're going to hear that interview, and I want to thank you once again for listening to the show. Sorry I didn't have anyone else here with me today. I know I typically have 2 folks here, but in my office, it's early morning, and I just wanted to knock this out so you guys could have great content, and my schedule has been kind of kooky crazy. Next week, I'll be at the Hotel ROI event on June 22nd in Los Angeles at the Indigo. If you're interested in joining, it's a real hyper-focused series of panels and events, and it's going to be again at the Hotel Indigo, June 22nd. Go to hotelroi.com to register. I'll be there. I'll be hosting, I'll be moderating a panel, and I'll be participating throughout the day. Hope to see you all there, and I hope you all stick around, and I want to thank you so much for supporting the No Vacancy Podcast. Last request, share this show with 2 of your friends, okay? Do it for me. Hey, come on. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. And if you're like me, then I know that you love terrific art. Art that creates a sense of place. Art that tells a story of where you are. Art that adds a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. And great folks that do this, Kevin Barry Fine Art Associates. You can find them online at kevinbarryfineart.com, and I highly encourage that you check them out. One recent project that I'm totally in love with is the Fairmont, Washington, D.C., where they created a custom project with a local artist, and they created some of this on site. They actually created a multi-dimensional wall sculpture from gold blocks, which is an abstracted map grid of the Washington, D.C. area. It's got different elevations to it and looks absolutely fantastic. It was done along with Deborah Forrest and Amanda Jackson of Forrest Perkins, which is now Perkins Eastman. And they all work together to create this fabulous new look. So if you want to create a fabulous new look for your hotel, or if you just love great art, check out kevinbarryfineart.com or give them a call at 310-945-27 888-848-2655. Let them know Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Let's kind of get going.
All right.
So I don't know if I'm supposed to be intimidated or not, because you've been kind of like this vaunted figure in the hospitality industry, and I've always heard, the myth of Lee Pillsbury, right? But I've never had a chance to actually meet you, so it's great to see you are actually of the flesh and a real person, and not just a godlike figure that floats around.
Well, thank you. I think figurehead is probably more accurate description.
Yeah,
a legend in my own mind.
Right. Well, it's just so great to be here. And the first question I really have for you, and I'll fill in the audience for the few people who may not know who you are right now. You're part of Thayer Ventures, and you do a lot of investing in the hospitality industry, and you're looking to tomorrow. My biggest concern is there's a lack of critical thinking that's going on right now. But you're in a world where it's absolutely necessary with all of these technology startups and companies that you're working with. Is critical thinking dead, or is it just being missed out by a lot of people?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a question, what do you mean by critical thinking?
Right.
And the classic liberal arts education is all about teaching you to think critically.
Right.
But that's also a learned skill in the sciences, in the hard sciences as well. So critical thinking, from my perspective, is curiosity.
Right.
Summed up, as best expression is curiosity, and a very broad curiosity: history, science, people.
Right.
Technology.
I feel like you need to know a little bit about everything in order to be a well-formed human being and to see things a little bit differently than other people see things.
So seeing things differently is a very interesting notion. It starts with, from my perspective, it starts with insight. Insight is understanding how something works.
Right.
Right. So you look at a BMW assembly plant, and it's producing 500 cars an hour, whatever it is, and there's only 25 people working there. And so the insight is how they do that, and how these jobs now are engineering and technology jobs, not labor jobs. Then from that comes inspiration, right? What inspiration can you draw from the insights that you've gotten, right? And one great example is robotic dishwashing, and a company out in California that is building a robot to clean, scrape, and stack dishes in the dish machine quicker, less breakage, better sanitation than what a human can do the job. So that's very close to what BMW is doing.
Right.
Right. So insight, inspiration, and then seeing around the corner, right? In this analogy, seeing around the corner is understanding the implications of a $15 minimum wage.
Right.
And what does that mean, not just for your labor costs, but what does that mean for how you organize your business model and where you apply technology versus where you apply labor?
Right. In fast food industry, it's obvious we're going to all start to use these kiosks to make our orders from, and I think most people are comfortable with that, especially since we have screens in our faces every single day. But in hospitality, that simply won't cut it. Sure, we're going to have the kiosks that certain travelers are going to come in and out, but you've got to have that human connection. We've got to figure out how to turn all this transactional into the experiential. You're kind of in the middle of all of that. How's your point of view coming in to make sure we don't lose that human touch?
So several years ago, one of the major brands developed a kiosk that they wanted to put in the lobby.
Right.
At the time, we owned 10 or 15 of their hotels. And when they approached us to do this, I said absolutely over my dead body.
Right.
And when I get to a hotel, I want some sucking up.
Right.
Very, very simply, I want some good old-fashioned sucking up. I want somebody to call me by my name,
right.
and I don't want it to be Siri.
Right. For the record, I do all the sucking up to the front desk clerk, so they'll give me a good room.
Of course, of course. But that's part of the game.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. And I don't want Siri saying it's so nice to have you here.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So there's that, but then there's room service, right? And it's 6:30 in the morning. I want a cup of coffee, glass of orange juice, and a newspaper, and I really don't want to wait 45 minutes to get it.
Right.
I'm, half dressed. somebody knocks on the door, and there's the waiter who wants to come in with a cart and do all this stuff and sit up in the middle of my room.
That's right.
And if it was a robot, I'd love it.
Yeah.
I'd feel a lot better. Open the door, have the robot open its lid and take out my stuff, and I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because what we're talking about here is finding the right times to apply the human interaction and then take out some people during possible friction points. So there's nothing positive that you're saying that could come out of that guy delivering the coffee and the orange juice at 6:30 in the morning. Only something negative, right? So better to have that technology interaction and then save the human interaction for somewhere else where it can have a more positive approach, right?
Exactly.
Whew, I'm glad I got that one.
Well done.
So how can we use technology? And Mr. Pillsbury has got investments in a lot of different technology companies in hospitality. What are some of the ways that we can apply technology that's going to enhance the customer service, enhance the experience, and allow for organic human interaction to take place?
Sure. So the obvious ones, the most obvious one right now today is mobile.
Right.
And that's going to have a big impact on conventional OTAs like Expedia, who were built for a desktop platform. And obviously the pictures and the data don't present well on mobile. So mobile is going to transform the distribution activity quite a bit. Another is big data. And we have enormous amounts of data, but we know very little about what it says, and we're just beginning to understand that. So growing out of this will be the notion of shared databases.
Right. And it seemed for years and years and years, all the brands would want all of my information, and then they didn't know what to do with that information at all.
Right.
But now we're at the point where that insight can be actionable.
We think so. It is only marginally actionable today, and it's not. The roadmap forward is not crystal clear, but there's a lot of companies working in that space, working on those issues. So big data. The next area is artificial intelligence, or machine learning, right? And you see it now on your smartphone where you start to type a word in the keyboard and it's finishing it for you. But it can go so much further than that, and it can do so much more to support you and make things easier for you. So, for example, when you make a airline reservation on the mobile device, it should be possible for artificial intelligence to know that you're a Hertz customer, and for you to, with one click, be able to reserve the Hertz car, to know that you typically stay at the Marriott in this part of town or the Hyatt in that part of town, and to, again, with one click, book you into that hotel. So we can use the information that we've collected about you much more powerfully than we have so far, and the advent of artificial intelligence is the key to enable us to do that.
Are people really comfortable with getting all this information about them collected?
People in my generation are not.
Right.
Privacy is a big deal. Maybe that's because we all have a lot of affairs, and we don't want the world to know about it. I don't think that's certainly not my case, but that's an issue. Privacy is a big issue. The younger generation, the millennials, the Gen X's, seem to have a much lower threshold here,
or a different expectation of what privacy is.
That's right. And perhaps it's because they've grown up with social media,
right,
and the kinds of things that they put on Facebook and Instagram. My mother would kill me,
right, for sure,
and I'd be embarrassed to have done it. But so their expectations are different,
right? And I just want to say, Mom, if you're listening, I've never done anything to disappoint you at all. All right, so you're working with so many companies. I feel like it's about 24 or something like that, right? Something like that. Is there any particular area, I'll let you give a plug for one of the companies too, that you're most excited about? I know it's hard to make you choose, but are there some that you're just more jazzed about than others?
Well, no, we have 24 companies in the Thayer Ventures portfolio. I have several other companies that I'm a director, investor, and founder in. But I think what appeals to me, and I think where the opportunities are, is these companies that are trying to solve big problems. right? That can make a real impact on the business models of the companies that they're designed to serve.
So what's a big problem?
Well, for example, in medicine, there is a huge problem in the operating suites of hospitals, in the operating wings. Hospitals bill across the country at about $125 a minute when there's a patient in an operating suite, and zero when there isn't.
Right.
And that rate is pretty consistent across the country because of Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance.
I thought hoteliers are getting good rates. That sounds something you want to be a part of.
It's a very good rate. However, the utilization of the room, right, is far below what they think it is and what it could be. And so managing process management, managing flow through, not challenging the doctors and the amount of time it takes to perform a particular procedure, but to track that the first surgery of the day is starting on time, to track that the housekeeping environmental crews are responding quickly to get the room ready for the next procedure, to ensure that the scheduling is optimum. This is an area that can have an enormous impact on both the costs and revenues for hospitals.
It sounds like they could learn a lot from the airline industry.
And from the hotel industry. And you think about it, a surgical room is exactly the same as a hotel room.
Right.
It's either clean and vacant, occupied, or dirty.
Yeah.
And it's the same principle by which we run hotels for 50 years.
So you've been a hotelier for a very long time, and you probably have just sailed off into the sunset. Why focus on the technology of tomorrow instead of just enjoying yourself? Or maybe you are enjoying yourself doing this, right?
I am enjoying myself. I spend my time with all these bright, young, ambitious people who are out to change the world, and and their enthusiasm, their excitement, their commitment. These people work 70, 80 hours a week,
right?
And they live their business plans, and it's just enormous fun to be around them.
How do you manage so many different responsibilities? It must be difficult to have laser-like focus for a little bit and then move on to the next thing.
Well, the companies that I work with, the people I work with, are actually very good at that. Very good at setting the priorities and exactly what they want out of me,
right?
And what they want me to do, what they want me to contribute. And so that's a challenge that they and I have to say, okay, how best do you exploit me, and what is it that if I'm going to give you 10 hours a month of my time, what is it that's going to add the most value to you in those 10 hours?
Right. So one of those things, I guess, is helping them create a culture of innovation. How do you go ahead and do that so they can not get stuck and think really futuristically and bring these things to life?
Well, for a startup company, the challenge is the pivot. And every company starts out with a business plan, and every company's business plan turns out to be, at best, 85% right.
Right. And
so at some point fairly early on in its life, a year, 2, maybe 3 years at the most into it, there's the need to pivot and to refocus and change direction. And that's the critical moment that determines whether a company is going to grow and succeed and achieve moderate success, or whether it's going to fail right there.
How do you know when it's time to pivot?
That's a great question. And typically it's because the customers are telling you,
right,
that your solution doesn't exactly do for them what you thought it would, right? That their passion for you is not quite as strong as your passion for them,
right?
Right? That you see more opportunity for them than they see using your product.
Yeah. So how can you then make sure you're listening and really be listening to what they're saying?
Yeah. Well, that's very hard for a product-driven company that begins with a solution and searches for a problem, which an awful lot of startups do. And
right, they're like, this is cool. Wouldn't it be cool if, as opposed to this is a problem?
Right. And even when they start out with this is a problem, their understanding of the problem is probably only partially correct.
Right.
So it's a function of using my network to reach out to clients of these companies, to talk to the CEO and say, I know you're doing business with XYZ. Would you do me a favor and give me a candid assessment?
Right.
is this making a big difference for you or not? And if not, why not?
Right. And you learn a lot of good insight from them.
Sure.
I figure everyone. I feel like in the hospitality industry in particular, I can't speak to other industries, but everyone's kind of frenemies. We're all really want to succeed, and we all want to help each other, but we're also competing against each other at the same time. So you probably see a lot of that in your life, in the way when you're asking CEOs for advice.
We are great competitors and lousy collaborators.
Right.
and IAC and Expedia thinks they're lucky stars that that's the case.
Right. So when do you know if your teams with all of your companies, if your CEOs that you have put in place are doing the right thing, or when you need to really get involved? Because there's got to be stuff with all of this technology that you can't possibly understand because you're focused on dozens of things and this is their life.
Well, you're betting on the jockey more than the horse,
right?
And so you look for executives who are passionate, committed, smart, and curious, and good listeners,
right?
And then you stay with them. And if sometimes the ideas fail, a large chunk of these companies will not succeed. And typically in venture, out of 10 companies you invest in, probably 6 or 7 will fail.
Right.
A couple will hang on, and a couple of them will be really successful. Because we're focused so narrowly on tech and travel, we hope the odds are a little bit better.
Right.
But nevertheless, they're long odds.
Where do you get the stomach to invest and know you're going to lose on so many jockeys?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I put down $100 on a craps table in Vegas, and I start to get the cold sweats. So I can't imagine what you're doing.
Well, I only play the $5 blackjack tables, so I wouldn't know about a $100 table. But what I do is I place 20 bets.
Yeah, right.
Right, and so the odds are I'm going to win a couple of them, and I'm going to get blackjack on a couple of them,
right.
and I'm going to do really well on those two, and I'll lose some of the other bets, and it's an odds game. It's like sales and making sales calls. A great salesperson is a great salesperson because they make the calls.
Right.
And you make the calls, you ask for the business, and you do it over and over and over, and you make sales. Right, and it's the same way in venture.
Right. Huh. Yeah. So how did you decide to get involved in the whole venture world?
Well, I've been starting businesses my whole career,
right?
Including at Marriott with Fairfield Inns and time sharing and some of the other things that I got involved in. But even when I was a general manager of a hotel and looking for new business opportunities and ways to change the business model in the hotel, for me it's the curiosity leading to insights, leading to inspiration, leading to let's try this. That's the fun part.
I know it's not a fair question to ask again, but not including the companies that you're working with now, let's say before Thayer Ventures, what was the most exciting thing that you were a part of in your career up until that point?
Marriott.
What was it about Marriott that was so exciting for you?
Working for Bill Marriott.
Yeah. You were there for, 20 years?
I was there in just under 20 years. I joined the company when there were 6 hotels. I left, there was 750.
Wow.
Bill Marriott has an extraordinary ability to pick people, give them a lot of authority and a lot of responsibility, and run with it. And I was very fortunate to be with the company at a time when it was growing very, very quickly, and when the market was right, the opportunities were there, so it was just extraordinary to work for him.
Well, when you introduce all these new brands, how do you realize that the opportunity is really there and you're not imagining it?
Well, I think the better way to think about it is to think about the soda aisle in the grocery store.
Right.
And at one end, you've got Pepsi and all its products. At the other end, you've got Coke and all its products.
Right.
Mr. Marriott and I both like Dr. Brown's cream soda.
Oh, that's the Passover favorite in the Houseman house.
There you go. and sure enough, in the bottom row in the middle aisle, there'd be one face of Dr. Brown. And the same was true of Marriott in Atlanta.
Right.
I think of the Marriott as the hotel aisle in Atlanta. Marriott had two faces in the aisle. Well, if we're going to be a big company, we've got to have a lot of faces in the aisle.
Different flavors.
So we built 42 hotels in Atlanta. And, some were more successful than others. Some locations were better than others. But in aggregate, right, we took a greater and greater share of the traffic in the hotel aisle. Right? And that's same strategy is what leads Marriott to want Starwood.
Right. Now they got 32 brands now. We're in a universe of bigger is better. Can you be too big?
Sure. If there was any serious threat to Marriott today, that's the threat.
Yeah.
If you look at the restaurant or retail business, the tendency among franchise and retail companies is to drive growth through new stores.
Right.
And because they quickly get same store growth become fairly limited. So in order to drive their stock price, they need a higher growth multiple. In order to do that, they need to add more locations, constantly adding units. The risk to Marriott is the same risk it was to Wexler at the Limited, to a number of restaurant companies, where that drive leads you to oversaturate the market. Now, I think Marriott's a long way from that because their market share today is still relatively low, but in certain markets, it has to be a concern, so I think that's the risk.
Well, it's definitely a concern among some of the owners. All of a sudden, you thought you were going to be in X universe, and now there's all these other brands that have come in, and suddenly you're competing in a different way with the hotel across the street than you ever have been before.
Sure.
Yeah. Any advice you give Arnie Sorensen?
No, I like Arnie a lot. I have great respect for him.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
He has done a great job. I'd tell him to keep his eye on Bill Marriott.
Right.
And Bill still visits over 100 hotels a year.
It's amazing.
He's still shaking hands with the staff. I can tell you, having been a general manager, when he came to my hotel, it made my job so easy the next month.
Yeah.
And so I'd say to Arnie, get out there and press the flesh, shake the hands, and make it easy for your managers to succeed.
And that's really where you probably learn what's really happening, and you can set that stage for innovation by just kind of being in those properties all the time. One of the things I hear is general managers need to get out more. They need to be talking to their guests. They need to be experiencing it, and I would think it would be the same for CEOs.
Sure.
Is that the kind of thing that you like to do? Get out there and taste, touch, feel all the companies you're involved with?
My wife says I never met a stranger.
Yeah.
So.
Last question for you in regards to the Marriott. How different can you imagine it is now than when you were there for 6 hotels?
Yes. Well, I'm sure it's a lot different. It was a lot different after 19 years there.
Yeah.
And the company's continued to evolve, but it has always had the culture of its founders and the founding and the family. That family culture and the focus on taking care of the employees, and they take care of the guests.
Right.
And so I think that part has never changed with Marriott. I think that's why Marriott's still the number 1 rated hotel company in the country.
Yeah, it's really a really trusted brand name. Any final words or thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. This has really been an honor and a pleasure, Mr. Lee Pillsbury. And I should say before we go that tonight, which is now 2 weeks ago, because that's when I'll be publishing this, you're getting the Hotelier of the Year award. So congratulations to that here at Penn State. How's that feel?
Well, it's here at Penn State. I'm here at Penn State because Mary and I established a scholarship here. We appreciate all the support that everybody in the industry has given to this event, the contributions. They've raised an enormous amount of money,
right?
Which I'm thrilled about, and I think it's really important. And I appreciate everybody who has supported the program. And I'm just the vessel, and
great.
Glad to be here helping Penn State.
Well, congratulations. It's wonderful to be here to celebrate this major thing with you. So
thank you.
Congratulations on such an accomplishment. And thanks to each and every one of you for watching the show, listening to the show, supporting the show, and participating. You can find me at Traveling with Glenn on Twitter, on Instagram, and everywhere. soda products are sold up and down that aisle. I want to thank you guys for listening, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to throw it all to heck, put together a business plan, and start a technology company that I hope you're going to fund over there. So be back. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.